There is the Quadrennial Defense Review, which is a study that was released in February. It's released every 4 years. That's why it's called the Quadrennial Defense Review. It's called QDR for short. What that does is it is a study that assesses military threats that the DoD thinks that it will face for the next 4 years, and then tries to match those threats with changes in doctrine and capabilities. So it governs, like, overall military planning. It governs combat operations. It governs budget decisions for what they request in the Congress, and so forth. That occurs every 4 years. It occurred in February 2010, with very little review. But what happened as a result of that, there was a press release, or several press releases from the author of the QDR. The primary author of the QDR is somebody named Michelle Flournoy, who is the Undersecretary for Policy for the Department of Defense. And she said immediately after that came out, she was like, but we're not done yet. We have a supplemental review to conduct, which she just called as the Global Posture Review, not the Global Defense Posture Review, but the Global Posture Review, where she said we will reassess the amount of bases we need for every region in the world, and that will be due by December 2010. The reason why that's due by December 2010 is because it affects budget preparations. The 2012 military budget will be decided in February 2011, so the Global Posture Review has to be complete before those budget hearings. So even if there are bureaucratic delays, it is highly likely and almost certainly going to happen that at some point during the year, probably in December, there will be a posture review where the DoD basically says, we are going to cut military presence abroad. And it's going to cover every region of the world. There's going to be an East Asia component that includes Japan and South Korea. There's going to be a Middle East component. There's certainly going to be an Iraq and Afghanistan component. And it's actually, the primary purpose of it is for it to occur in Turkey. Now, what does this actually mean? What can you expect from the new Global Posture Review? It's difficult to say because the number of articles on it are very vague. I mean, but this is actually a very, very fertile area for research. Like, if you're looking for disadvantage links, you would research the 2004 Global Defense Posture Review, where they included a lot of reasons why changing the global defense posture without following certain policies is a bad idea, and links to a host of disadvantages, and I'll talk about a little bit about that. But also the current Global Defense Posture Review. I haven't been able to find a lot of articles on this, but what I have seen has actually been pretty good in terms of supplying disadvantage links and potential counterpoint options for the negative. What will it do? Number one, it will involve extensive consultation with U.S. allies. So prior to any commitment to decrease troops, it will involve an effort to go to foreign capitals and negotiate with them about what they need and what they need to decrease. Part of the reason it's being released in December as opposed to right now, because there isn't actually a whole lot of additional work that needs to be done for it, is something called the NATO Strategic Review Concept, which you need to write that down too, because this will be a component of next year, but it's called the NATO Strategic Review Concept. And that is basically a summit that is occurring in November that involves all the leaders of NATO countries, 26 different countries. They all meet together and they decide what NATO's mission requirements are for the rest of for the next 10 years, basically. So if NATO says we need a lot of bases, then they're obviously not going to reduce them in the Global Posture Review. But if NATO says we don't need a lot of bases in Europe, then they might. Number two is it will definitely reduce military presence. Everything that I've seen about it says that some reductions are inevitable. They will probably not occur in the topic countries, however, so it's not like, but they will, they'll almost certainly occur in Europe. There will be some, there will actually be some that will occur in Japan. So for example, We already even have a budget item to reduce our troops in Japan by like 8,000, even though we haven't actually done that yet. And that will be done in 2014, and the Global Defense Posture Review is expected to affirm that conclusion, essentially. And it probably won't reduce from any of the other countries, but it could. It depends on what it says, what the future threat environment will be. But from what I've read, it will definitely recommend some reductions. It will almost certainly recommend the addition of things like cooperative security locations and perhaps the replacement of military forces with missile defense and air power. So the number of troops and bases is expected to decline. That doesn't mean we're going to abandon our allies. It means we're going to change what we expect to how we expect to fight future wars. All right. I'm going to give you a break. I'm not done with this section yet, but I need a break. So I'm going to give you a 5-minute break. So it's 10:35 now. We'll resume at 10:40.